there are a couple of different ways to look at humility. I think generally when we think of humility, we think of admitting our mistakes, admitting our own fallibility, being willing to be wrong, having that growth mindset. Absolutely very, very important. Let me ask you a question. Which one is harder? I'm going to give you the two options and then I'm going to have you vote. Is it harder for you to admit a mistake, or is it harder for you to acknowledge and say thank you when somebody recognizes you for good work? Raise your hand if admitting a mistake is harder for you. Raise your hand if acknowledging how amazing you are and saying thank you when you are recognized for good work is harder for you. Every single time. Okay, so when we think of humility, we're generally thinking of this like, oh, I screwed up, I made a mistake, I'm going to own up to it. Super, super important, but it doesn't seem like people struggle with that as much as the other end of the spectrum. And usually people struggle with saying thank you, recognizing or accepting that recognition because they're afraid that that's going to make it seem like they have an ego and it's going to make them feel like they're not humble. Let me introduce a concept to you called humble confidence. It is absolutely okay for you to be in the position of leadership that you're in, have the experience that you have the access to resources that you have the money that you have the position of authority that you have the network that you have. You have worked hard to get to where you are. Now, you can look at all those things in one of two ways. You can say, hey, look at all this stuff I have, and it's all for me, and use it to advance your own career and to lift yourself up. That's where ego creeps in, and we get the leaders that we all can't stand working for. Or you can say, look at all this stuff I have. How do I use it to benefit and to lift up the people around me? How do I give some of that away so that other people can benefit, and I can help grow my team? I can help lift them up. I can help them improve. I can help them advance their career. That's humble confidence. It's recognizing the things that we have, welcoming those things into our lives, and using them to lift others rather than just ourselves. So when you think about humility, I want you to think of both of those things. If you don't struggle with the part of admitting your own fallibility, awesome. Work on the other part of how do I be humbly confident in what I have, who I am, the resources that I have. How do I use those things for good? That is just as important in the context of humility.